Tony Montana, the rise and fall of a king made of powder and pride. In a world where power is everything and loyalty means nothing, one man carved his name into the blood-soaked streets of Miami.
His name? Tony Montana. A Cuban refugee turned drug kingpin. Ruthless, fearless, and unforgettable. He came from nothing and took everything. But he paid the ultimate price. This is the story of how the world was his, and how it all slipped through his bloody fingers.
Antonio Tony Montana was born in Havana, Cuba, around 1940. A child of poverty and violence, Tony grew up hardened, shaped by crime and conflict. He fought in Cuban prisons, developing a violent edge and a ruthless will to survive. In 1980, during the Mariel Boatlift, Tony emigrated to the United States alongside thousands of other Cubans. He arrived in Miami, not as a dreamer, but as a soldier. He didn't want handouts. He wanted the world. And he would take it by force. At first, Tony and his friend Manny Rivera worked low-level jobs and ran errands for local drug dealers. But Tony's ambition couldn't be contained. He saw weakness, opportunity, and a system ripe for domination. Tony's big break came when he assassinated a former Castro official and later executed Colombian drug lords during a tense cocaine deal gone wrong. His cold efficiency and fearless brutality impressed local boss Frank Lopez, who welcomed Tony into his criminal empire. But Tony had no intention of being anyone's underling. He seduced Frank's girlfriend, Elvira Hancock, outmaneuvered him in business, and eventually killed Frank to take over his operations. From there, Tony aligned with Bolivian drug lord Alejandro Sosa, gaining access to international cocaine supplies. With money flooding in, Tony built a drug empire and with it, a fortress-like mansion, an army of henchmen, and a reputation that struck fear into the hearts of everyone in Miami. At the height of his power, Tony Montana had it all: a mansion, luxury cars, Elvira on his arm, and the city under his thumb. He famously declared, "In this country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the women." But Tony wasn't just powerful, he was paranoid, impulsive, and violent. His addiction to cocaine fueled his downfall. His enemies grew, his allies vanished, and his grip on reality slipped. He pushed away Elvira. He killed his best friend Manny in a jealous rage. And when he refused to carry out a bombing for Sosa that would have killed innocent children, he became marked for death. The final act of Scarface is as iconic as its hero. Sosa sends a death squad to Tony's mansion. Surrounded, outgunned, and high on cocaine, Tony grabs a grenade launcher-equipped M16 and unleashes hell on his attackers. "Say hello to my little friend." He holds off dozens of enemies single-handedly in a blaze of bullets and fury. But eventually, a silent assassin sneaks up behind him and delivers the fatal shot, a shotgun blast to the back. Tony falls into his indoor fountain, blood mixing with the water beneath a statue that reads, "The world is yours." His empire dies with him. Powers and abilities. While Tony Montana has no superpowers, his abilities make him one of the most dangerous and influential crime lords in cinema history. Combat and survival skills. Trained from youth to fight and kill, first in Cuba, then in the streets of Miami. Proficient in firearms, especially automatic weapons like the M16 and handguns. Fearless under fire, often continuing to fight after being wounded. Criminal genius. Rapidly rose from dishwasher to kingpin by spotting weaknesses and exploiting them. Built a vertically integrated drug empire with international connections. Manipulation and leadership. Charismatic and cunning. Able to turn enemies into allies and inspire loyalty through intimidation or respect. Could outtalk, outmaneuver, and outfight anyone who stood in his way. Iron will. Tony feared no one. He looked death in the face and kept walking. His moral code, while twisted, was real. He refused to kill innocent people and lived by his own brutal sense of honor. Psychological traits. Tony Montana was defined by rage, a deep, burning fury at the world that denied him. Paranoia, distrustful even of those closest to him. Addiction, cocaine fueled his aggression, pride, and ultimate ruin. Loyalty and betrayal, loyal to family, but unable to trust, this contradiction destroyed him. Tony Montana became an instant icon, a symbol of the American dream gone dark. He represented the pursuit of power without limits, and the self-destruction that follows unchecked ambition. Played by Al Pacino in one of cinema's most intense performances, Tony Montana is a cult legend. His image, cigar in hand, gold chains, eyes bloodshot with rage, has transcended film and entered pop culture forever. Tony Montana was not a hero. He was a force of nature, violent, bold, unstoppable, until he wasn't. He came to America with nothing but a scar and a dream, and he clawed his way to the top. But pride, paranoia, and power turned his empire into ashes. He lived fast, loved hard, and died in flames. But even in death, his legend lives on. So here's to Tony Montana, the Cuban king of Miami. The man who had the world, and lost it all in a spray of bullets. If this explosive story fired you up, like, comment, and subscribe for more legends of crime, cinema, and power. And remember, in this world, nothing lasts forever except legacy.